The following is an interview with the Paranormal Group, Florida Paranormal. I met with them to get some ghost hunting advice and hear their stories. In this episode of Strange Stories, we hear from their whole team. Subscribe to us on YouTube to hear the individual members telling their strange stories in later episodes of our show. To contact Florida Paranormal, visit their website at www.fpa.name.
My name is Susan Smith, and I am the founder of Florida Paranormal Association. This is part of my team. We have Dennis over here. We have Max. This is Crystal. And my husband, who's also a member, is Forrest. We do free investigations. We do house cleansings, house clearings, exorcisms. You name it, we do it. We have a pending case coming up on cryptozoology where somebody thinks they have Bigfoot. So we'll be checking that out here pretty soon.
My name's Crystal Ayers. I'm the sensitive of the group, which means basically I can feel energy when I enter somewhere.
My name is Max. I believe I'm one of the investigators and probably the most skeptical one out of all of us.
Do you believe it all?
Do I believe it all? No. Sometimes, nah. Actually, it's one of those things. I don't know until it actually happens, and it hasn't happened. So I'm not saying yes and I'm not saying no, but I want to find answers to whatever happens first. And that's actually what I like doing the most.
That's how I am right now.
Can I interrupt him for a minute?
Yes, you can interrupt.
Max, you remember that investigation over at Palm Coast where we had
Yes.
the little meters that
Right.
go off?
Mm-hmm.
And we were in that one room, and
It happened in
the
3
light
rooms.
and the meter was going off constantly.
Exactly.
And we went and investigated the rest of the house, and all of a sudden the meter stopped. And
Oh,
we went
yeah.
running back to the room. So, you know, there was something there.
Something there,
What?
but
Who knows?
yeah, it could be a variety of things that are obviously it's unexplainable at the moment.
But we put the meter directly in the middle of the room. From floor to ceiling, from wall to wall, and it went off, and it stayed going off the whole time we were there.
And it happened in 3 rooms simultaneously. They all went off at the same time.
Yeah,
They
we
all
had all
stopped
3
at the same
go off.
time.
Was it the one I went into?
Yes.
With the kids' footprints?
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
happened in Claremont on one of the cases too, where we were there, and all of a sudden the meters went off like crazy all through the 2-story house, upstairs, downstairs.
That's the one where I
And-
ended
yeah,
up blacking out for over
Yes,
an
she
hour.
went into a trance. She didn't realize it until she was
And
doing
then-
her
Yeah.
review of the tapes. But we also heard the footsteps downstairs. Maria was with us, and I know she heard it, and we have it on tape where you can hear somebody walking. It sounds like in high heels. And I think that was kind of residual because they say they hear that all the time. But we got that, and that weird EMF field that came through. I mean, it had things pegged. And the funny thing is, the homeowner who was outside had told his girlfriend, he says, something's going to happen in the house, and he no sooner said that. And that's when the meters and everything went crazy. But we really didn't get anything else on tape or anything, so, you know.
It gets to be very boring.
Kind of personal experiences.
Do you want to keep going through?
Yeah, well, most of the stuff when you go out on an investigation is a whole lot of boredom because usually nothing really happens. But occasionally you do get something, and we ran into more than a few occasions this past year. Like we said, the meters have been going off pretty regular at different places that are supposedly haunted, and I'm more of a skeptic too, but this last one where they did an exorcism, I've got the demon's voice recorded on my cell phone. I seen the movie that they took, and it's scarier than any motion picture could ever have been. You know, this was not scripted. It happened just like it did. Demon shouting at her, she's shouting at the demon. They got holy water going off. What's that cleansing agent that you make from Leviticus?
Yeah,
that set the meters off. It was pretty scary.
we had blessed oil, blessed
Yes.
holy water, and she was constantly putting it over both of us as we did the exorcism.
It was intense. Very intense.
Dennis was there.
So have y'all done a lot of exorcisms?
not a whole lot of exorcism, mostly investigations.
Yeah, that was like...
You've got to be very careful because there's a lot of it's uncharted ground. And some people, they try to con you to come in to cleanse a house, for instance, and they're Satan worshipers. And what they're hoping is you get rid of whatever they've got summoned so it comes back stronger because a Christian group came in and got rid of it. So you got to be real careful who you deal with.
Like the Bruja, it was the witch house in Marion Oaks they practiced Bruja witchcraft.
Yeah, it's Mexican
And,
witchcraft, Bruja.
You know, we went in there unknowing what we were going to get, and we got to stay the weekend, which was great, and we had fantastic results. I was so excited the first night. I mean, we had, even using a little ghost radar, we tested that, and I said, if you're here, walk towards us, and you'd get like 5 dots all of a sudden. I said, and that shows up on the screen. I said, now walk towards me, and all 5 would converge into one. And we did this like 5 times. And I'm like, this thing must really work. You know, that's pretty cool. Doors opening and closing, even you could tell them to open it, and they would. Unfortunately, the first night was fun. The second night was a little hairy. I had my meter burn up. Gary, who is no longer with us, he's a sensitive, and he came in and he says, I don't know what you did, but he says, you really ticked something off. He dragged me out of the house, and that's what, of course, when I came back, that's when I found my equipment was burned up. And I'm like, wow.
How about what went zinging past your head?
Yeah, that was after he had made contact with a young boy that said that he was trapped there, and we were trying to talk him into going into the light. And he said he was being held. And we messed with this kid for about an hour, and you could tell from the meters, you know, the readings, he'd leave and start to go, and then all of a sudden he'd come back because he was afraid. But eventually he left, and Gary could sense that. He says, he's gone now. And Gary got up to go have a cigarette. And I was kind of crippled at the time. I had a staph infection, which I didn't know about, but I couldn't walk too good. I started to get up. The room is dark. The only light is the meter down there on the floor in the K2. And everything had zeroed out. Nothing was going on. I get up and I'm leaning on the wall trying to get my balance so I can put weight on my leg. And all of a sudden I look down and I see the meter, the numbers are just flying up like someone pumping gas, you know, really quick. And I look up and I can see this darker mass coming towards me. And instantly I just knew it was evil, it was bad. And I grabbed my cross, or my St. Michael, as it was, and I said, I'm not afraid of you, the Lord Jesus Christ protects me. And with that, it came at me and just whoosh right beside my head and hit the wall, like somebody pounded it with their fist. That's when I got on the walkie and I called Gary. And after the 3rd time, he finally came in. That's when he said, I really ticked something off, let's get out of there. So that's what we refer to as the witch house. We had so many experiences there. And things that we didn't realize were affected us. Gary is still having health problems from that particular case. And it was just ironic. I hadn't smoked in a long time. He had quit drinking. The second day, he started drinking and I started smoking. And we didn't realize that we were actually being affected by what was there. We slept in the boys' room with the doors opening and closing, and it was about 2:30 in the morning. Phone rings in the kitchen. Gary says, aren't you going to answer your cell? And I'm like, it's not my cell, I thought it was your cell. And he goes, no, it's not my cell. And I said, well, it must be the phone out there. With that, the light comes on. Now, we're the only 2 people in the house. The light comes on, the phone quits ringing. Now, typically, we would have been up right away, running out there to see what was going on. But just to show you how it affected us, we'd laid back down and went to bed. You know, I have all that on tape. And next morning, we get up, and he goes out there and looks, and the telephone's not even plugged in. And it's like, well, how could it ring? But we had things dropping through the night and banging in the closet. And the closet I did get up and look at, but couldn't find anything that had dropped. That was a bad experience. And when I got in touch with the homeowner, turned out that she didn't realize the mother-in-law and the son were into Bruja witchcraft, and they were teaching her kids. They had books hidden all throughout the house and everything. And she asked us to cleanse it. Well, I can't cleanse it if they're non-believers. You cleanse it, and they come back and bring it in, it's going to come back sevenfold as bad. But after I told her this, it just wreaked havoc with her. Her husband got arrested. She got arrested. They're in the middle of divorce. The mother-in-law's trying to get custody of the kids, and she kept calling me up, please go back and cleanse this. She says, our lives have gone to heck since then. I told her, I said, you have to come down here. I can't do it without you. But they never did. So it wasn't too long ago, she contacted me and said, oh, send her the keys back, everything's fine. So as far as I know, the house is still sitting there and still haunted.